Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to another Good to Go from Oakland, California. I'm Noah Kravitz, editor-at-large for TechnoBuffalo.com.
And I'm James Kendrick from ZDNet Mobile News.
James, how are you today? What's going on?
I'm good. It's Thursday. Thursdays are the good day before Friday.
Exactly. Well, let's just dive into it since we seem to have a time problem. There's too much to talk about trying to keep this thing to a reasonable length each week. We were talking about HTC, and then you were talking about how you just got an HTC device. So I don't know. Let's talk about HTC. HTC in the news this week.
HTC, yeah.
Apparently they're big. Apparently they're popular. They're making money.
Yeah, the news just came out just yesterday that their market cap is bigger than Nokia. And that, I mean, those of us who cover this industry know that is just absolutely huge. And that surprised everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, we all knew HTC is big and they're growing and they're the #1 Android phone maker and they've grown phenomenally in the last 5 years. But that is huge. I mean, their market cap is now bigger than RIM and BlackBerry and Nokia. I mean, they're big. And you know what's really impressive to me about it is that they've done it all without their own platform.
Right.
I mean, they did it right.
Mm-hmm.
They got a strategy of getting that Sense interface, that's very distinctive looking.
Yep.
We all know an HTC phone when we see it.
Right.
And that's all they wanted. They wanted to create their own brand. And wow, they're good.
Yeah, no, they've done I mean, I've been a fan of theirs, for a while. And I think what they're doing, I don't know how much a part of it plays, but I think what they're doing with their marketing as well, running their own marketing campaigns with their whole theme, You campaign and TV and web and print and bus stop ads and whatever, it's getting the name out there. And I'm not, on the one hand, I'm not a marketing analyst kind of guy, so I don't know how much of an impact that has. I don't know if people walk into the store and say, I want to see an HTC phone because I saw the ad on TV. On the other hand, they're doing something right because, they're like you said, the market cap news, just kind of stunning, but also, well, I want to say not surprising, but it is still surprising that they're, I mean, bigger than Nokia, whatever issues Nokia is having, currently. I mean, they're a giant, so that is huge. And I think you hit it on the head that Android has probably done for them. Android sort of fueled Motorola's comeback in some ways, and you can say Android kind of breathed second life into Sony Ericsson, and Android's done a lot for a lot of carriers. But for HTC wasn't struggling, but they really, like you said with Sense, it's an HTC phone. They were working on Sense before this, but with Android, it really just, they were able to really kind of execute what seemed like the vision they kind of had for it all along. Now we're going to see when the Flyer ships, or the Evo View, as Sprint's going to call it, we'll see Android on a tablet, and same
interface with the same Sense interface.
Right, exactly.
I mean, they're brilliant. Their plan works really well, and I knew their branding was working when about a couple months ago, my teenage son, who normally doesn't care about any of this stuff. I mean, he just wants to text on his phone, and that's it.
Right.
But I'm always getting phones in for review. They have every day, it seems like. And delivery came, and I unpacked it, and I was just starting to play with it. And he said, "Oh, is that an HTC phone?"
Huh.
And that's when I knew. When the teenagers say, I'm familiar with HTC.
Right.
I mean, that's a big deal because all Android phones, I think this is one of the problems that a lot of people have with it. I mean, even though Samsung's big in Android, probably almost as big as HTC, yeah. And Motorola, as you mentioned, I mean, they're all out there, but nothing is that distinctive when you see one of their phones.
Right.
You go, oh, it's an Android. It just kind of looks like In fact, a lot of people think that pretty stock Android is ugly. It's just like
Right, and whether you do or not, I think it's a really good point that people who are really in the know, people who really follow this stuff, can tell a Samsung Android phone from an LG or from a Motorola. But a lot of people can't, and especially since Motorola has backed off of their whole blur system.
Auto blur.
Yes, because it was a big blur. You know, they're sort of more and more commodified now. It's a thin, lightweight phone running Android, and to the consumer going into the Verizon store or the AT&T store or whatever, or not the AT&T probably, but the T-Mobile store, what have you, they kind of all look the same. But an HTC phone's an HTC phone, and people get that. Similarly, I have a family member who just got their first smartphone and wound up going with the Droid Incredible, which at this point is not a new phone anymore. But they wanted to be on Verizon. It was free on contract, free with an upgrade because it's been out for a while.
That's always a good price.
It's always a good price. And in a lot of ways, it's sort of, this was the phone back before Verizon had an iPhone, when people would say to me, I really want an iPhone, but I'm on Verizon, what should I do? And I would say either wait or get an Incredible. Because, to me, that was the one that offered that sort of similar blend of style, features, camera, web browser, and for my money was the most kind of consumer-friendly Android phone out there because of Sense. So yeah, there's definitely something to that. It'll be interesting to see. There was news earlier this week that Motorola is working on a platform of their own. That's kind of come and gone with HTC a little bit. Talk about that. I don't necessarily see it happening, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with HTC is supporting WinPhone 7. But is that really going to go anywhere, or is it really just going to be about making Android their own as they've been doing and just building on that success?
Well, I think the way that they position themselves, that one of the reasons it's so brilliant is that it doesn't matter, because they are going to come out of Windows Phone 7 the same way as they did Windows Mobile, that they're doing with Android. Make the interface distinctive no matter what, and then it doesn't matter if the platform, they
Right.
can't abandon a platform today.
Right.
And it doesn't really affect them as far as their branding goes.
Right. That's a great.
They've done it just brilliantly.
Yep.
the way they've done it, and that hit me home when you were talking about the HTC Incredible with your family member, because we are very familiar with what's the latest version of Android or the OS or this or that. The people on the street we've noted in past shows don't. They don't really care.
Right.
But the HTC Incredible interface with that Sense, definite look to it.
Yep.
Looks just like the new one. So they don't care.
Right.
This is a new phone.
Right. Yep.
It's a great strategy that they've got.
Yeah, it really is. And another thing about them, this kind of turned into the HTC Love Fest episode here, but they make a really good keyboard. I have always loved their keyboards. And this keyboard, this is the Arrive, the Windows Phone 7 for Sprint.
Ah, okay.
This keyboard isn't that much different than the Touch Pro 2 keyboard that came out a couple of years ago. And that phone was a huge phone, but had this full 5-row QWERTY board with the the offset spacing and just little things like the larger space bar and shift and function lock keys with lights and just those little touches that they've always for my money paid attention to that sort of.
They make good keyboards.
That sort of detail. They make good keyboards. And
I just sent the HTC Evo Shift back yesterday, and that had a nice keyboard too. I really liked that keyboard.
Yep. Yeah. They're also, they're. I was thinking back to, we were talking about Amazon recently and all the different things Amazon's been doing. HTC now is starting to build their own media offerings into things. The The Flyer, is going to have the gaming service built in, and I forget the name of the company. They acquired a media company recently. You know, I'll be interested to see if this shakes out, and it may well not. But there's definitely something of a trend towards, and again, Android has kind of leveled the playing field in some ways. These devices now all have a certain level of spec and feature set that's more than enough for the mass consumer. And so rather than looking at, oh, we got to get a decent camera on there, or it finally has, a full web browser, that kind of thing. Everything has these features now. So what else can you build in? And, a music store, streaming video, gaming services, whatever other things they are. And it'll be interesting to see if Amazon, if this really comes with a piece of Amazon hardware with these services built around it to sort of challenge Apple's model. HTC might be in a position to do that sort of thing if it's the right move for them, just based on a couple of little moves they've made recently that I noticed when they were launching the Flyer in particular.
Well, they're big enough and they're global enough. So I think they're certainly feeling out things. I mean, who knows where this is all going to go. You mentioned cameras a few minutes ago. If I did have to slap them around a little bit,
right.
They need some work in the area of cameras, because I don't find that their cameras are quite as good as some of the competitors.
Right. Well,
that's hardware wise. That's probably the only consistent complaint.
Right. What's the best camera phone out there for your money?
I seem to have the best luck with Samsung models. I mean, just in general.
A lot of people say that, yeah.
They just, I don't know, their autofocus is outstanding. I covered even the Galaxy Tab, which actually that's where we first met out at the HP WebOS event.
Right.
I covered that whole event in video using the Galaxy Tab camera.
Oh, that's right.
It was incredible. I mean, in fact, the HP PR folks who were presenting all this stuff were really watching this out of the side, out of their eyes, because they're thinking, well, it must be better than we thought.
Right.
Because otherwise you couldn't do that.
Couldn't be doing it just with that. Yeah, sure.
Anyway, but wow, there's our time again.
All right.
We're approaching the shot buzzer.
And anything of extra special importance going on the blog right now?
Well, no, it's just the same old stuff, reviewing stuff. I'll be reviewing the Thunderbolt when it comes along. I just reviewed a budget Android tablet, which I'm finding is pretty good. The Identity Tab.
Okay.
Which is Wi-Fi only for $299, and it's pretty full featured for that price. I mean, just typical business as usual.
I'm actually, and this might speak to my still lingering Android burnout from last summer. I'm actually really excited to get the new Samsung Android phone for Boost, because it's smaller, 3.2-inch screen, I think, but it has access to the Android market, $50 a month, unlimited voice and data. And then they've got this thing where with Boost, if you pay your bill on time 6 months in a row, I think it is, your monthly fee gets knocked down $5.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so apparently it can go all the way down to, I think it's $35 a month. If you've paid your bill on time for 18 months in a row, I guess it'll get knocked down that far. But, even $50 a month unlimited for a full-on smartphone, it's a lot cheaper than what Verizon or AT&T is asking to run, an iPhone or a top-of-the-line Android phone. So I'm kind of excited for that, just to see if, I don't know, to see if somebody like me could live with
to see how good the
device.
network is.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't matter
right,
if there's not enough bandwidth for everybody. But
yeah, although
that's pretty cool.
iPhone users on AT&T have been putting up with it for several years now. So I don't know.
And still rank it highly in all the surveys.
Seriously. All right, James, for people who want to check out that tablet review you mentioned and everything else you're up to, what's the URL for the blog?
It's zddet.com/blog/mobile-news.
Terrific. And folks know technobuffalo.com for whenever I get that Boost phone. We put in a review up there and get some other mobile phone reviews that went up this past week. So there you go. James, always a pleasure. We'll have to think about doing it again next week.
Yeah, let's do.
All right. Till next time. We'll see you later.
All right, see ya.